Thank you for coming to my channel, Double B Gunworks. My name is Brandon. In this video, I will be showing you how to swap out your pistol sights for aftermarket sights if you do not have a sight pusher. I'm going to give you a few different options on tools you can use to help you get the job done. Mind you, you do have a risk of scratching up the finish on your slide or your sight. So at the end of this video, I'll be showing you how to fix that with PermaBlue. You can get it pretty cheap. Last time I checked on Midway USA, you can get that exact bottle for it was about $6. So it's not super expensive and it's very easy to use. I'm not going to be I'm not going to be putting anything on the tip of my punch um, in the hopes of actually scratching it up so I can show you how to fix the finish on your slide or your sights if you do damage it. So keep that in mind if you are wanting to swap out your sights and you don't have a sight pusher. Go get yourself some PermaBlue. Like I said at the end of this video, I'll show you how to do it. So the first thing you're going to need to do is on the tip of the sight, there's this little screw in there. It's a star pattern. It's going to be a T6 for this one. So you're going to want to pull that out. What that's doing is just creating pressure in the groove to stop that rear sight from coming out. Now, since you're going to be hammering on it, I'll take it out completely. Otherwise, you will be that will knock out, and you could potentially lose it. So if you don't have a bench vise like I do, I'll show you how to do it with the bench vise. If you have a C-clamp, I know you can get those relatively cheap at Harbor Freight. And you have a towel, you're going to want to mount it like to the edge of your the table you're working on or your bench that you're working on. You want to clamp it. You want to secure this somehow because you're going to be using that punch and a hammer and hitting on it. So you want to secure this properly. So before we go into removing that, I'm going to show you how to remove the front sight. So I have this Glock front sight tool. There's that little screw right at the tip of here, and it's extremely easy. Just unscrew it till it comes out. Comes right off. There's the stock one. Now for the aftermarket one, just reverse order. I do suggest, so this did come with a little bit of thread locker. So I would suggest putting just a little dab thread locker on there. So when you are firing, you're not going to risk that backing off. The last thing you want is in the middle of shooting the gun, whether you are at the range or you are using in a real life situation, you really don't want that sight to come off, obviously. So what we're going to do, let's get that on here. Now the screw that they supplied is pretty short, so it's a little bit of finagling it to get it to work. And you just sometimes doesn't want to cooperate with you quite right. There we go. Just make sure that is nice and snug. As you can see, the front sight is on. All right, now let's get to the rear sight. All right, so I'm going to get it set up in the vise. One thing to understand is that not all pistols, the rear sights are directional, but some are. It's good to research the pistol that you are going to be swapping the sights out for. So for this one, we're going to want to push it out from when you're looking at the back, left to right, and when you install, right to left. So we're going to flip that over. Get that secured. I have the foam side so we don't damage the finish on the slide. So what we're going to do is just take that punch, set it on there, and now you're going to want to make sure when you're doing it, right, get some light on here so you can see a little better. Right on the very base of it that's actually going into the groove, that's where you're wanting to set up that punch and pushing it in there. You're not going to want to do too high. You could end up damaging it. You can see it's slowly coming out. I end up putting a pinky on the bottom just to kind of control it. You don't want to hit too hard because obviously you can end up breaking it. So just, oh, well, I end up launching it anyways. But as you can see, it came out. And now we're going to flip it over. Remember, like I said, from right to left when you're looking at the back of the slide to install it. All right. So now we have the aftermarket night sight. This one doesn't have that screw in the center here, so all you're going to have to worry about is just placing it in. So get it started. All right, then you're going to want to check it periodically. I pushed it too far over. So what I'm going to do is actually flip it over and just give it a little tap. I know it says, I was saying that you need to do directionally, but if you're just moving a little bit, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Now, what you can do, or what you should do, is use something like this digital caliper right here and measure each side to get it fully centered. One way you can do that if you don't have it is you can use a tape measure and get a rough measurement on each side, or even something as simple as get a piece of paper and just rough on either side of it, get the same, as close to the same length on that piece of paper kind of measurement thing. So looking at here, still looking a little farther over to the left side. I'm just gonna tap it a little bit right on here. And that looks pretty centered for the most part. So that right there, you can see right there, it's a little scratched up, a little marred up. Punching the old one out, not too bad. So now we're going to set up on how to fix the finish on it. All right, so now we're going to fix the finish. First thing I would suggest doing is you want to save these sights, these old ones, whether you want to just have them as spares, just in case you end up needing it, something happened to these and you don't have the money to or the time to get new sights. You don't want to lose that little screw. So I'd store it, just screw it back in there. Make sure you don't lose any of the parts for these old sights. Same thing with front sight, is just screw that in there. And then you can put that in a little baggie and save that for later if you end up needing it or if you want to sell it. So You can always use other tools, something that'll fit right in that gap right there. And like I said, just find something to kind of put on the tip to protect your finish. Otherwise, you'll be doing what I'm about to show you every single time you have to swap out the sides. So this is extremely easy to do. You're going to want to, I like to use the Birchwood Casey gun scrubber, something just to kind of clean it up a little bit. Just give it a little spray and just clean everything up. And then what I use is just Q-tip. You can get them cheap, Dollar Tree. Don't need anything fancy. What you're gonna do, just get a little wet, and we're just gonna wipe it on there. Give it a good little application on there. I'll look around, make sure you're getting anywhere that might have been scratched up. It works pretty quick. Usually while you're doing this, you can start seeing the finish starting to blue up again. Like on the site itself, I can already see it. Now you're going to want to let that sit for about a minute. Now, what this says is to rinse it with cold water to rinse all of it off and then wipe it clean. I find if you're only using a tiny, tiny bit, just wiping it off works just fine. But just periodically check it, cover areas that you still see kind of marred up. Now remember, I would highly suggest, you can get cheap ones online, like on Amazon. I would highly suggest getting a actual site pusher, just because this is a brand new site. I'll show you here. Let's wipe everything off. Even though we re-blued it, you can still kind of see a bunch of marks on it. So it still ends up damaging it. So it's not the best option. But if you don't have access to a site pusher, then that would be your next best option. Remember, when you're looking at the site pushers, you also have to understand the firearms that you're working on. Some of them, it has a very tight tolerance in here. And if you buy a cheap site pusher that has a very soft aluminum or some sort of other soft metal, you could end up just damaging the site pusher. So do a little research, get an idea on the pistol that you're going to be working on. Now, if you do need to try to fix how tight the sight is, one option you can do, just get a small file, not too expensive buying some of these little sets, and you'll just start filing either in here or on the back side where it's going to have that contact, and just take off a little bit at a time. You're not going to want to take too much off, because then I'll go in too easy and then the sight is not going to stay in there. Because remember, some of these do not have that little screw to hold it in place.